Hi everyone. Before we get into this week's video, I wanted to take a few moments to thank you all so much for your kind comments in my post earlier this week where I mentioned that we unexpectedly had to say goodbye to Coconut or Little Coco, which this channel is named after. I was just overwhelmed by all of the kind, thoughtful, heartwarming comments from all of you, and I wasn't able to respond to all of them, but I did want you to know that I read them all, and it truly meant a lot to me to read through all of your comments, so thank you. This video that you'll be watching today was actually filmed the morning before everything happened. So you will hear me talk about Coconut in the present tense as I do my flip through. And I guess I just wanted to acknowledge that because it might seem a little bit weird. And I thought about whether I wanted to post this video or not. But for me, I find it helpful to take the time I need to grieve and mourn as necessary, but also to ensure that my basic needs are being met, to find ways to process how I'm feeling, which includes journaling, of course, and also maintaining some of my routine because it's helped me kind of focus on other things instead of just thinking about Coconut the whole time. So I don't know what that's going to mean for videos on this channel moving forward. I'm just going to take it week by week. If it feels good to stay busy and film videos, then I will do that. But if it starts to feel like I might be avoiding processing or I'm having some trouble regulating my emotions, then I'll take that as a sign that I need to step back. So we'll see how things go, but I just wanted to address that. The last thing I will say is that I was having some issues with my microphone in the beginning of the video, so you might just hear a little bit of a difference in the audio in the beginning, but it does level out and fixes itself partway through the video. So, okay. Thank you all so much for your kindness and compassion. Take care of yourselves, and I hope you enjoy the video. Today's video is going to be a flip through of my 2025 Traveler's Notebook vertical weekly inserts that I used for memory keeping. It is a few months late, but a few of you mentioned in my last video that you would still be interested in seeing it, perhaps just to get some ideas if a vertical weekly is something that you are using for journaling. Last year, I had the inserts in this Traveler's Notebook cover. This is the olive green Traveler's Notebook, and it was customized by the Superior Labor when I went to Karashiki in October of 2024. I love this cover so much, and I really loved using it for memory keeping last year. And this year I'm using it for long form journaling. I actually am keeping my inserts in this Traveler's Company archive binder, and it only has 3 inserts, but you can see it's pretty full. I have my 2 inserts. So this is January to the end of June, and this is July to December. And then I have my travel journal that I had put together for trips. Well, one of the trips I took was actually not in 2026, but the majority of this travel insert is for a trip that I did in 2025. So I thought it made sense to keep these together. Someday I'm going to decorate this, but for some reason, I always take a long time to decorate my insert covers. Before we do the flip through though, I do have a few other small updates that I wanted to share with you. So if you're not interested in these updates, then I will leave a timestamp in the description so you can jump ahead to the flip through. But I was really excited to share some of these updates and I just can't help myself. So let me pull up some of the items. The first update is a relatively small one, but I still thought it would be exciting to share. Back in 2023, I got these two Sailor Fude de Manon, I think that's how you pronounce it, fountain pens. And in all honesty, I haven't really used them since getting them in 2023. I initially got them because I wanted to use them for sketching, because I had fallen down the rabbit hole of seeing a lot of creators talk about how great these pens were for sketching, and I was intrigued. However, when I got them, I struggled so much to use them that I honestly kind of gave up on them. And the reason why I pulled them out is because when I started using my Ancora fountain pen, this I got at the Ancora store in Japan, I noticed that the nibs seemed to be about the same size. And so with all the talk of swapping nibs on my TWSBIs, it kind of got the wheels turning and kind of got me thinking, like, what if I were to swap the nib, the medium fine nib that I got at Ancora, with one of these Fude nibs, because I have been wanting to use more of my lighter fountain pen inks as a highlighter, and I haven't really been able to figure out quite how to do that. I thought at one point I could use a stub nib, but it's kind of awkward to use because you have to sort of turn your pen this way in order to highlight. I even looked into these like long knife style nibs for months, but I just didn't want to experiment. I was a little cautious about buying a bunch of nibs to experiment, and so I kind of shelved that idea for a while until I started thinking about swapping nibs, and I started thinking, like, well, I already have these. I wonder if these nibs could be useful as a highlighter. And so I watched a few videos. I was able to swap the nibs very easily. Basically, I took some clear tape. I put the tape around the nib and pulled it out, and I was able to swap. So this is the medium fine. This is the Fude nib from, I think it's this pen, because now the Ancora nib is in here. So I think this one is the 55 degree pen. This is the green one. And then this one is the, it's currently not in here, but this is the 45 degree nib. I tried both nibs with this pen, and I landed on the 55 one because it is a little bit broader. So my ideal would be a highlighter that would be 2.5 millimeters, so I could just highlight a square. That is hard to find. Like, I even looked into just regular highlighters, and I think even my my mild liners, I think those are 4 millimeters, so they're still bigger than these squares. And I am really happy with how it turned out. So I initially had this inked still with my Pilot Irishizuku Kosumosu. So I just wanted to show you, this is what it kind of looked like. So I was testing out highlighting with Kosumosu, but it is a bit darker. This is what it looks like with the 40 degree, and this is the 55 that I didn't clean very well, so there's still a little remnant of the ink that was in there. But then I cleaned it out, and I inked this up with Birmingham Penco Petrified Wood, which is a beautiful color, but it is quite light, and so I thought it might be perfect as a highlighter. And you can see here, because I use document ink in my planner, I was able to use this to highlight very easily. So let's say I want to highlight this line here, then so it's still a little finicky when it comes to getting the angles right. But overall, I am so happy with this because I do have a lot of very beautiful light inks that are chroma shaders or have very interesting shading properties. And I just think this is a really fun way to use some of those inks. And this ink is particularly beautiful because it does have some chroma shading. So I'm really happy to have this new way to use not only this pen that I don't really use that often, but also to have this highlighter option. And I also wanted to show you here, like I tested it out highlighting my habits and trackers, and it's a little messier because I can't really use a ruler, but I just think it's so fun. Like you can see all this really fun pooling, and the fude nib is pretty fun in that if you like, there's all these different ways that you can hold the pen. So I can hold it at this angle and I get a wider line. I can hold it this way and I get a thinner line. I can write upside down and doesn't really show that much because I guess it's a very light ink. But I think the interesting thing is that it's supposed to be really great for drawing. And I initially wrote it off as something that I didn't really want to use for drawing. But now that I'm kind of having so much fun with this nib, I'm wondering if I wrote off these pens too soon. And I might even ink up the other nib and just play around with drawing with it, because typically I draw with my very fine, soft, fine platinum pen because that has carbon black as well. But I think this would be really interesting because it would add a lot of extra texture because the lines are kind of different. I think it can add some extra dimension to your drawings. So I'm going to play around with this. I'm glad that I kept these pens. I prefer a pen, like I always thought these were a little bit too long for my liking, and they also don't fit my pen case. But this fits perfectly. It fits perfectly in here. And yeah, I'm going to try it out as a highlighter for the next little while. And I might even just try using it for drawing as well. So yeah, I wanted to share that update that I have a new highlighter. I made a couple changes since my last video, so I'm absolutely loving these charms so much. I just find it such a joy to pick this up, and this actually didn't add that much weight to my Hobonichi Weeks compared to these charms are quite heavy. These beads are much heavier, and so this added quite a bit of weight to my Traveler's Notebook, which I'm still okay with, but this just worked out so perfectly because this is just a lighter set of charms, I guess. I still haven't punched a hole in the plastic yet, but I am hesitating on doing it because I'm looking at how much room there is here and just thinking that if I put a hole here and then I have this big knot here, I just wonder if that will maybe be too bulky for this book. So for now, I've just got it free and I just take it off when I want to use my weeks. And some of you also suggested that perhaps I want to consider removing this plastic cover, which I have thought about doing. One idea that I had was either I would take one of these spare weeks pockets. You get one of these sticker pockets in every weeks that you buy. So if I were to remove this plastic cover, which I can do right now, I do think it's a nicer texture, just this sort of linen-y kind of cover. I am worried about it getting dirty because it's so light, but at the same time, I rarely take this out of my home, so maybe it's not such a big deal to worry about getting it dirty. But one idea that I had was, I know that there is a Hobonichi like elastic band closure. I don't have one, and I've never actually seen them except in other people's videos. But I believe that it is like a card that slips into the back. So if you had your plastic cover, you would slip it in here. And I believe it kind of works where you end up having an elastic kind of like on the corner to keep your book closed. So I think what I might try is, I'm not sure how to do it yet, but I think I might try to get a little card and figure out how to stick this elastic onto the card, and then get one of these pockets and stick them on the side here, so that I can have this card kind of attached, and then I can maybe use it like that. And I think that is really cute as well, to have this little "have a nice trip" at the bottom. And I actually think that fits really well with the cover design. So I think that's what I'm going to try to do, but I haven't quite figured out how to make the card yet. So I'm going to play around with that. But if you have any suggestions, let me know, because I've never seen the official Hobonichi one. So I don't know. I was thinking maybe washi tape I could try, or I could try something stronger like duct tape. But that's the idea that I had. And then I don't have to poke a hole into the plastic cover. And if I don't want to use the plastic cover at all, then I can just have the book like this. So yeah, that's an idea. And then in terms of my layouts, a lot of you suggested that I try rotating the book and updating the entries in that way. And so I did try that out this week. I just wanted to share my experiment. I don't know yet if it felt like I had more room or not. Another thing that I experimented with was, instead of trying to make 4 photos, I thought about playing around with different photo sizes. So less photos, but maybe larger sizes. So maybe there's a bit more visual interest that way, or maybe there's a bit less pressure in trying to fit like 4 photos all the time on these pages. So yeah, thank you for your suggestions. A few other suggestions that I got were adding tip-ins, which I think I want to experiment with. Also like adding boxes here to kind of recreate that traveler's notebook layout insert that I was really loving in my last video. So yeah, I think we have many weeks still to experiment, and I think I'm just going to have fun trying out different layouts for the next few weeks, and I will be more than happy to report back on how all of that is going. Thank you so much for all of your suggestions. I think it's just really fun kind of sharing them with you, and there are so many great ideas that it really gets me excited, and it's been this unexpected, delightful, additional way to engage with my books, which is to crowdsource ideas and just be inspired by all of you. So yeah, I really want to thank you for taking the time to share all of your great ideas with me. The last update is I wanted to share how I've been tweaking the way that I use this A5 leather portfolio that I had mentioned in my stationery regrets video. And I just made a few tweaks, but I am honestly really enjoying it right now. And I think it's just feeling like it's clicking a little more. So one of the ideas that I had was I was actually thinking about turning this into a reading portfolio. So I have a Kobo e-reader, and I was thinking about potentially using this to put my e-reader as well as a notebook and maybe a pen to have with me whenever I want to read and maybe take notes on my reading. I still think that's a really great idea, but before I even got a chance to try that out, I decided to tweak the way that I have been using this. And so if you recall, I had this set up as a place for writing Happy Mail. So I had a few pads of paper, and I had my sticker release insert, and that's all that I had in here. I ended up taking out the notepads and just keeping a few pages of them instead of like the entire pack. And I also pre-decorated some of my papers so that they would almost be like my own stationery sets that I could have ready to go when I want to write a letter. So that took up a lot less room. And then I kept my sticker release insert, but I also added all of my stamps. So I've got US stamps, international stamps, and Canadian, like within Canada stamps. And then whenever I receive happy mail from other people, if I haven't responded to those letters yet, then I've just been putting them all in here so that I can remember to just enjoy them and maybe respond to them. And then when I'm ready to put them away in my memory keeper, then I can do that there. And it has just been so great because I have been extremely fortunate to receive quite a few letters in the last while. I think because people have been writing me back from NaNoWriMo, which is so incredible, and it was definitely not expected. And so, yeah, I've been kind of keeping all the letters in here, and because it's a portfolio and not like a notebook cover, it's like perfect for holding different papers and different items. And so I have been using this and reaching for it much more often, and it is just making me so happy because I just love breathing new life into objects that I already have. And so this is just bringing me so much joy. And I'm even looking at this now and I'm thinking, oh, I could maybe add some like charms here, make it even more personal. And I'm already feeling like this is kind of getting a little more worn and used. I'm really loving this and I wanted to share it with you. And as I continue using it, I will definitely share more updates. So I'm actually going to take them out for the purpose of this flip through. So if you're unfamiliar with these archive binders, they come with these little flexible metal rods, and that's what you can use to keep your books in the binder. But I'm just going to take them out for now. I'll put that aside. So these are my two inserts. I actually decorated these at the same time, and I kind of like that because they do feel like they're sister inserts. On volume 1, I used one of the tags that I got when I made a purchase at the Traveler's Factory in Japan. I was able to kind of use some of the stickers as well from that package. And these are some of the stickers from the 2025 Love and Trip theme. I used my little label maker to add memories on the top, and I used the transfer alphabet stickers that come with the Traveler's Notebook sticker pack on the bottom here. I actually bought these vertical weekly inserts when I was in the Traveler's Factory Kyoto, and because I bought them there, I was able to open them up at the Traveler's Factory and stamp the covers. And so I honestly had such a great time stamping everything. It was nice to know that I would kind of have a memory of being in Japan, and that would kind of carry me through for all of 2025. So I'm really pleased with my past self. It was a little bit of an impulse purchase decision, but I'm really happy that I did it because it really extended the magic of that Japan trip all the way through 2025. So I'll just start with this one. Because I kind of bought this on a little bit of a whim, I honestly didn't really know how I was going to use this. I just thought at first that I could potentially use it the way I used to memory keep in my cousin vertical weeklies, which was kind of a mix of logging my day and adding stickers to just make it more fun. But because I was kind of using my weekly supplement to schedule my day and in a way log my day, I didn't really want to duplicate that process. So yeah, I didn't use this at all, which is fine. And this was my first entry, so I consider this kind of the practice because it was the week before the new year started. So I was on vacation this week and I really didn't know how I wanted to use this book. And so I started by thinking I might want to make it more scrapbooky, and I used quite a lot of actually magazine clippings for this. We had been on a family vacation, so I talked about the family vacation and I just tried to be a little liberal with stickers, but honestly, I didn't really love how this turned out. So the next thing that I did was I tried to lean into my maximalist tendencies. I was really into this letter stickers, and I have to give credit to Georgia Journals for this because I was really in love with how Georgia had been adding these big, bold letter stickers into their spreads. I was trying to use a lot more of these kind of letter stickers. So something I really loved about Georgia's style is lots of bold lettering and lots of writing so that the whole page is full. In this page, I thought I would try doing a little bit of drawing and watercoloring. I had this idea to try to emulate a newspaper layout, and you can see that in the next few. I tried to continue that, so I tried to create like a headline and then have columns. I did some ink samples down here that Leanne sent me. This was kind of more scrapbooky ink samples. And then I guess here is when I started to add photos. So these are actually just printed photos from regular printer paper. I started to kind of explore like different sections. So I have a little bit of like collaging. This is related to Lunar New Year. And then these are just more like highlights, things that I really wanted to remember. And I love photos. I love being able to see a photo and kind of transport myself back into that moment in time. And I really loved this. Like there was something about this that really clicked with me. And so I kind of went all in on the next week. Yeah, this was a Lunar New Year dinner. It was so delicious. Like just looking at these photos, and I can remember this day so well now, even though it was over a year ago. And then here is another kind of pivotal moment. I met up with Tiffany from Talksmot, and she brought her Canon Ivy, I think it was, because I was interested in maybe getting a photo printer now that I was kind of getting into adding photos to my memory keeper. And the reason why I was thinking about a mini printer is because when I print photos this size on regular printer paper, I tend to want to wait until I have enough photos to print, which could then set me back. It might take me a while to collect enough photos for me to print. And so I was kind of thinking if I had a smaller printer, then I could just focus on maybe printing photos on a weekly basis as opposed to like waiting until I had several weeks worth of photos to print. So this is, these are some photos that she printed for me on her Canon Ivy. And then that kind of inspired me to look into getting my own printer, and I ended up getting the Canon Selphy QX20. So you can see the comparison of the Canon Ivy and the Canon Selphy. It was the same two photos. I actually like the coloring in the Canon Selphy just a little bit more, but this is much more portable, whereas this I don't really think is that portable. So I'm still continuing on with this this theme of trying to make it seem like it's a newspaper. It's the front page of the newspaper that's sharing my day, which I like the idea in theory, but it was kind of getting difficult to do. But maybe I could try it again now that I'm looking at it. Anyway, NaNoWriMo from last year. Always a good time. This was this was when I started playing around more with my stub nib to create headings. So instead of using my pen, my regular Platinum 3776 soft fine to create these letters, I started trying different nibs. And I really liked that because I thought it was nice to kind of have a bit of a pop of color for headings. So I think I kind of like really leaned into that after that. Yeah. So then I kind of started playing around with trying to do a little more lettering, and that is something that I want to continue trying to practice in 2026. I kind of stopped because, well, I don't know why I stopped, but I would like to try again. So I was still trying to do this kind of big heading and then smaller headings as if these are like little articles in my newspaper. And then I kind of just gave up on the heading. And I think that was because I felt like it was taking up too much room. So I just wanted a little more room to write. So here I'm still playing around with using this is my 1.1 stub, my Benu Euphoria. And I think what I was trying to do was, again, in my mind, I was trying to continue with the idea that these were news little articles of my life for that week. And honestly, I just kind of continued on with that for quite some time. So just playing around with different colors, which I really enjoyed. I also tried using another ink color other than black, but I don't know what it is. For some reason, normally I prefer brown ink, but for some reason I did not like this at all. It just felt too light, and I immediately went back to black. I think I was trying really hard to write neat. So in this page, I'm printing instead of cursive. But I don't keep up with that because I just write faster when I write in cursive, and I don't know. Sometimes when I write in printing and I'm trying to be too neat, I end up making so many more mistakes. Like I'll make spelling mistakes, or I'll just forget what I'm writing about because I'm trying so hard to be neat. And I just think it's easier for my brain to just write. And it's a little more intuitive for me to write in cursive. And I really love this now that I'm adding these photos, because you can see in the next few weeks that we planted some seeds, and I started taking almost like weekly progress photos of our seedlings. So it was really cool to have that progression documented somewhere. So I can see that we started planting our seeds in early April of last year, which is around the same time. Like we're almost at early April now. So, I mean, this is telling me it's probably time to start planting some seeds, which is really cool. And also like the moment when you start seeing buds on your trees after a long winter, I am so excited to see that this year. Even though I'm probably going to be sneezing a lot for my allergies, I remember taking this photo and I remember being so excited to see that. So Coconut has been aging, and he was slipping a lot on our stairs. And so I had looked into getting a stair runner, but they're so expensive and I'm way too indecisive to pick something that's that expensive. And so I found these little removable sticky mats for each stair step. And I was skeptical, but they were affordable, they're washable, and I don't have to do any crazy installation for like you would with a stair runner. And so I can't believe we got these a year ago, pretty much. So that's why, like, these photos may not mean much to anyone else, but I can't believe we've had them for a year. On here, you can see a little seedling process. You can see they're starting to grow, and I was getting so excited to see flowers growing out of the ground. So that was mid-April of last year. So hopefully we'll start to see that this year. And then I did do a little bit of painting here. I think I was just really inspired by the flowers. And this is when I did my collab with Moonlit Journal. That was such a fun video. So grateful for my friendship with Moonlit Journal. I think one of the best things about having a YouTube channel is just getting to meet other creators that I would have not had the opportunity to meet, and then also just connecting with my viewers through things like the NaCoWriMo or the community sticker trade. It's just been so fun and so rewarding. This was a very big week, so I did have more photos than usual. Here I tried doing a title again. I actually really like how this turned out, so maybe I'll try to do this again in my weeks. Maybe I'll try to do that this week. We'll see. And these little outlines I think are kind of fun. They are the Travelers Company stickers in that kind of sticker sheet. These are the sticker sheets from this year. I kind of cut around the sticker, so you can see there's a little border around it. And then once I peeled off the regular sticker, then I was left with this tiny little border. And I kind of save them. I save them and I use them sometimes. Like I think there's another one that I had here. So there's another sticker outline here. And here's when I got the red Traveler's Notebook, the Love and Trip. I love this cover so much. It's got to be one of my favorite covers. And another picture of how our seedlings are growing. Sadly, I do not have a green thumb, and a lot of these got very leggy and they did not survive being transplanted outside. Oh yeah, we had a cold spring, so actually I think it was a little too cold to plant our seedlings outside, so we ended up keeping them indoors longer. Yeah, it's the coldest May since 1967. And then one of the biggest things that we did in our home for last year was painting and making over our office. And so these are just some progress photos where we painted the whole office Bancha from Faro and Ball. And it was the first time that my partner and I worked on something together like this. I usually paint our rooms on my own, and it was much more enjoyable to do it with someone else. So this is just a really happy memory, and we still love our office. So it was absolutely the right thing for us to do. And then I have way more photos here because I was so happy with it. And we also built some shelves. And then last year, Leanne and I also did the Artist's Way together. And so I started documenting my artist dates in here. Just enjoying all the flowers, my beautiful shelves, artist dates. It was really fun documenting these artist dates. And then we move into the next insert. I just have a little bit of a pen test here. This is my Banu Euphoria with the different inks that I had inked it up with. So this is volume 2. I've got some more stamps. And this is actually some stamps that I got from Wonder Pen. So if you ever visit Wonder Pens in person, they have a table where you can use and try out a bunch of different stationery supplies. There are some fountain pens, and then there's also a bunch of stamps. And Tiffany actually had these, this is such a good idea, but she had these Post-it notes so that I could stamp the Post-it notes instead of the book. And then you can kind of cut them out and place them wherever you want. So I had 2 of these, and I did cut up the other one. Once again, I did not use these at all. I love this page. I think this is when I started to really have fun. So I would kind of start with the photos and place them put my stickers. Then I would add my titles, do my entry, and then wherever I had a little space, I kind of just threw in stickers everywhere there was a little blank space. And this just made my heart so happy. So I think I just really started to figure out what made me happy in this spread. Photos, ephemera, stickers, and just like everywhere you look, there's something interesting to look at. So this is probably one of my favorite spreads. And then this is when I started to play with my Pilot Parallel pen. This is I can't remember the size. I think it's the one that's like 2 something. And this is Oxblood, which is one of my favorite inks. I actually haven't inked Oxblood in a proper pen. I've only ever inked Oxblood in my Pilot Parallel, but I just love this shade of red. And in these larger, like in the Pilot Parallel, you can see there's a little bit of like a green sheen. It's such a beautiful color. And actually, as I'm looking at this now, I've re-inked that Pilot Parallel so many times that I might almost just make it like a permanent match because I just love it so much. But I might try it in a pen as well because I think it could be really lovely in my E95, my Pilot E95S. So yeah, I started using that for bolder headings, and I would love to eventually work on my lettering, but for now it's just big letters. But yeah, I was really happy with this spread as well. I also got a letter from Elle from the Common Corner, and she sent me this leaf. I love it so much, and I just love the effect that it has in my journal. So definitely want to do more like dried flowers in my journals. I really love how this spread turned out too. I love this color. I realize I really like this heading, this color for a heading. And it's just so colorful and it's so full. I love these stars everywhere. Just really happy with it. And here, I love this one as well. This is another example of photos, headings, writing, and then stickers everywhere. Everywhere there's a little space, just stickers. It may not be everyone's style, but I really love it. And these are some stickers from Moonlit Journal. So Moonlit Journal sent me some of her amazing stickers. And I think this is entering my favorite iteration of my journaling. This is just my favorite. I love these beautiful stickers. I think these are from some sort of fern. These are the PET tapes. These are some of my all-time favorite. I just love the colors, and I think they go so well with the heading. It's another journal day with Tiffany at Talksmot. The coffee table that I am filming on right now, this is what it used to look like. It was in our family growing up, and I begged my parents for it when I moved out. And it was so dry, and I don't know. I just took a really long time figuring out how to revive it. I think I thought I needed to buy like a stain, but I'm glad I waited because I ended up buying more of an oil, tongue oil, and it just brought this table to life. So it was so easy too. Like that's the thing, is like you wait so long to do something like this. Like I'm talking years. And it took maybe like 20 minutes to add the oil. It's crazy. I would like to do more of these kinds of tip-ins. I received some ink samples from some patrons, and I really like how I was able to kind of record them on these papers. And this is unfortunately when Coconut just started getting really sick, and he hasn't quite recovered. He's been kind of dealing with one thing after another nonstop since the summer of last year, but it really started to get bad around this time. So it's kind of sad to see, but I guess it just happens, and just trying to enjoy the time that we have with him. And this is when I cut down my Hobonichi A5 notebook, the utility knife. It was so easy. I was surprised. Just have to go slowly and light cuts, and it took maybe 5 minutes at most to do this. This was this kind of a happy, sad day. We celebrated our anniversary, and also Coconut was just not doing well. So I remember this day. This was a really rough day because he's always been a pretty happy dog, but he was really struggling at this time. So it was like a very happy, sad week where we're trying to celebrate our anniversary, but also like just being really concerned about Coconut. And here's a picture of an eggplant that we grew from our own seeds. They tasted amazing, so we were very proud of ourselves with our little patio garden. If you're ever in Toronto, there's a place called Good Behavior in the West End. They have really good sandwiches. And I kind of tried using this as an extra place to add more stickers. And also here, this is another place that has really yummy cheesecakes. And I used it as well to try to add more photos and stickers. So yeah, kind of happy with how this turned out. This is when I got my surprise toe light cover. One of my patrons actually sent this to me, and I still use it. I use it as a notebook for therapy sessions. Pelican Hub. Meeting. This is when I met Ale from Alejandra's archives, and we met for a delicious dinner, and then she wrote a little note for me in my journal, which was so special. And this is when I received some more stickers from Moonlit Journal, and I saved her card, of course. This is one of her beautiful stickers. I got some happy mail from Adri's Logs, and I also got a package all the way from New Zealand. Included the tiny robot from Hobonichi. That was very kind of this person. This is when my workshop at Wonder Pens got announced for the first time. So this had been in the works for a while, and it was just so surreal to have my information and a photo from like my journal, this journal that I'm actually flipping through, on the Wonder Pens website. It was just such a dream come true. And I'm actually running my 4th workshop on Sunday, this coming Sunday. Feeling so lucky and grateful that Wonder Pens keeps letting me spend time at their store. Oh, this is also when it snowed for the first time. And this is when I actually ran the workshop. So, that was what an amazing experience. And also when I ran 20K the day before. It'd been a while since I had run that far in a long run. So, of course, I had to document that. This is when I got my Wearing All Queen of Hearts ink. It's this beautiful red. And I was really still loving like this red color, but I wanted to try something with some shimmer. And it kind of kickstarted my obsession with Wearing All, which is probably one of my favorite inks at the moment. This was another cover that a viewer sent me. It was just so thoughtful, and I feel so grateful and spoiled by all of you. This is when I received my A5 Me Plus Slim Pad. It's also when we did a biopsy for Coconut, which was so hard to see he had a tough time recovering. It was really sad. Also when I received my beautiful Leonardo Memento Zero Grande 2.0 from Apple Boom. I really love this pen. Also when I got Diamine Lady Grey, when I went to my friend's workshop where I made the charms that you see on my notebooks. And then this is from when we went on our trip. So I completed these while I was away. I wanted to keep up with this. I know I didn't have to because I had a travel journal, but I really wanted to. So I worked on these while I was away. So there's a little bit of repetition, but it's fine. I like having a complete book, so I wanted to make sure that I kind of covered some of the big things. And then here are just some of the other colors that I used for headings. So you can see I had Oxblood, probably one of my favorites. I used the Velvet Ballet for a bit, which was a lovely color, but I do prefer Oxblood. Ferris Wheel Press. And so I did save some like ephemera in here, but I'll just say that when I had this in my TN, I had it in this TN, but I had a second insert that was kind of like for overflow. So these kind of go together. And I won't necessarily do a flip through of this whole thing, but basically this is a place where if I had even more photos or I really wanted to expand on an event, this is a place where I could do that. For our anniversary last year, we went to Casa Loma. I mentioned it in here. Yeah, I mentioned it here, but then I expanded on it in here. Just had more photos that I wanted to share. So that's what I did. I also use this kind of for ink explorations, which is pretty fun. Pelican Hub was another one. Scriptus was another one. So this was some little postcards. These were some postcards that Wonder Pens gave me when I ran the workshops. And then this is like a little zine that I made for my workshop. I wanted to keep a copy of it in my book. And then this is mostly like a lot of inky explorations. So yeah, that's kind of how I did my memory keeping last year. And then, as you know, this year I've been using my weeks to replace this memory keeping. And then if I have extra things that I want to expand on or I have more ephemera, that's what this insert is for. So that is my 2025 memory keeping system. I really love this. As you know from my last video, I do miss it. I don't love as I mentioned in the last video, like I don't love that they don't really lay flat and they're not kind of the easiest to flip through. I still think for now I kind of prefer, like I prefer how flat this lays, but it is a lot smaller, and as this gets more full, perhaps it won't be as easy to flip through anyway. So I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens at the end of the year, and I think it'll be really interesting to see what I go for next year, whether I go back to a TN, I stay in the weeks, or maybe I just try a different system altogether. I'm not too sure, but I'm excited to see what happens. All right. Well, that is everything that I had for you today. If you're still here, thank you so much for spending this time with me. Let me know if you have any questions below, and if you have any suggestions, or you just want to share what you're doing for memory keeping to inspire me or inspire others. I would love to hear about it in the comments. Otherwise, I hope you're doing well, and I'll see you soon in the next video.